This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Here are Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
It's a 757 Sports Talk special edition here with us on CoVA Sports TV. It's our 2024 football preview show. We did a jam-packed edition for you last year, and we are back with you for this year. From my studio, from his home working office, whatever you want to call it, I'm Matt Hatfield. He's the coach, Ed Young. Edward football is here. The games start this week. The entire 757 underway. I'm so jacked for it. I'm ready to go hit somebody. Can I hit you?
You can try, but that's going to not be a very good end result.
Why?
And the police will be involved as they rush you to the hospital.
Don't say that. That would be very bad. Well, we're going to start off with the Beach District. We're going to go through all 5 districts, give you our predictions, top 4. We're going to also give you, in addition to the top 4 in the district, our offensive and defensive preseason players of the year. And at the end, Ed's going to also give you a pick or tell you what he thinks about my picks to win the state championship, maybe give you his pick for a state championship, and give you his top 5 football coaches in the 757 from his perspective. But we'll do our picks later. You can find us on virginiapreps.com. You can hear us every Saturday on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're all over the web, Facebook, IG, Twitter, or X as they call it. Enjoy us on the platforms. Plus, we have On the Hash with Hatfield during the season. Throughout the week, we'll have special guests that you can check out too. But a quick little thought on the 2023 season, Ed. Green Run out of the Beach, that is, did not win the region championship for a 3rd consecutive year, though they did finish up unbeaten in the regular season. And they have a 33-game winning streak as far as state champions go. Those were won by the likes of Maury out of the Eastern District in Norfolk in Class 5, Phoebus out of the Peninsula District in Class 4, moving up from Class 3, so 3 in a row for Jeremy Blunt's Phantom. So you'll hear later on in the show, as well as Dyrri McCain of Maury. You'll also hear from Anthony Joffrion of Kings Fork. Plus, you'll hear from another coach, and that is Highland Springs coach Loren Johnson, because he plays both Coach McCain of Maury in week 2 and Coach Blunt of Phoebus coming up in early September. But Lafayette fell short in the state championship in Class 3, and Poquoson fell in the state semis in Class 2, region championship. A salute to Indian River, by the way, who knocked off Green Run on the road, them out of Chesapeake in the Southeastern District. But in the Beach, I think it starts with, you tell me if I'm wrong, it starts with Green Run because they have so many explosive playmakers, talent galore for Coach Brandon Williams, led by their quarterback going to UConn, and Kassan Farrar. And you'll see scrolling across our ticker throughout this program, all of the college commits, FBS and FCS. You have any idea how many commits we have right now in the state of Virginia from the class of 2025?
It's a lot, and I'm going to take a round number guess.
Okay.
90.
Wow. You almost hit the nail on the head. You believe this, folks? Ed Young's been studying. It is actually 89 by my count. Now, I could be missing one. He's going to claim he was right all along and I was wrong.
I'm thinking you're missing more than one.
That's incredible by you.
Now, that's kids going Division I.
Division 1A, as you call it, FBS, Power 5 schools. It can be in Alabama. It can be a Pittsburgh. It can be an Ohio State, a Virginia Tech, a UVA, wherever, James Madison, Old Dominion, Liberty, and FCS, which could be a William and Mary, a Richmond, you name it. So a Delaware, we've had a bunch of kids that. But in the case of just Green Run alone, Ed, you look at their list of commits right now, the quarterback going to UConn and Kassan Farrar, the wide receiver going to Virginia Tech and Jaden Anderson. By the way, they graduated one in Keelan Brody Adams, a record setters with the Hokies now. Knowledge Harrell's going to Virginia Tech as a defensive back. Zeke Chinwiki's going to Virginia Tech as a defensive end. Emmanuel Taylor's going to Pittsburgh as an outside linebacker. How do you beat this team with all this talent they have in place? Are they beatable? I think I heard you say a couple weeks back on the show they would not go undefeated in the district. So who is the top challenger to them? We're going to give away our top 4 picks in a moment. But who is the top challenger? Is anybody going to play within an eyelash of them? Because you look at last year's results, and in the district, while they got a couple of tests for a half, Bayside, in fact, led them at halftime in a game. Green Run beat Kempsville by 20, Cox by 34, running clock margins against Kellam, First Colonial, PA, Ocean Lakes, Salem, Tallwood, beat Lansdowne 35-8. So really only 3 games you want to say if you don't count that 34-point margin with Cox, not running clock scores. Kempsville by 20, Bayside by 14, Lansdowne by 27. Then in the playoffs, it got closer, only beat Deep Creek 17-12, only beat Salem 18-10 before falling to the Braves of Indian River 10-7.
Boy, I listen to that and I say to myself, they won't lose a game. If they're going to lose a game, it'd be in the state playoffs, maybe. Loaded squad. I just have the feeling, even though Brandon does a good job with them, Brandon Williams, well coached them, I just think somewhere in this season, they will stumble for whatever reason. And sometimes kids get a little full of themselves. Some things can't go right. They play somebody that's doing really well, and things are going very good for them. And they got talent. You're going to have some kind of talent to beat them because they're built for the playoff situation. So I still think they'll lose one regular season game. But after doing some work for this preview show, my feeling is a lot less stronger than what it was before. I was 75% sure they'll lose a game. I think you can drop that for me. It probably dropped down to about 55%. They're very good.
So I hate to put a word in your mouth here because I know you'd get mad, but if I'm reading you right, it sounds like it might be if they do stumble, it'll be more of their own doing than someone else taking it from them. That's not to knock or diminish the rest of the district per se. It's just you don't see a clear-cut number 2. It's going to be a juggle for that. I do see a clear-cut number 2 right now, and they're going to be scrolling across ticker in a minute. And you talk about talent. If you're going to beat a team with a lot of talent, you better have some next-level talent. And it's a team that's number 10 in our Class 5 top 10 on VirginiaPreps.com to begin this season, and that's the Salem Sun Devils. Coach Mark Hall, who once played at Green Run, 2 sports standout in football and basketball there, went on to play his college football at the University of Virginia. He's got a quarterback who's thrown for 5,000 yards, and Jason Scooter Williams, who's going to Navy. You heard from him during the summer on our show, as well as Fabian Wells, the wide receiver defensive back, who is going to Howard University. Oh, by the way, a 4-star offensive lineman, and Jalen Gilchrist. He's going to be playing his college football big time. We thought he might go to South Carolina, Ed. He ended up going to Maryland, and they have other players on that team that have offers galore. So I feel like this is a team that can certainly play within them. And by the way, they played them in the postseason, a 1-score game, 18-10. So there's a little bit of confidence brewing from that to go with a bunch of starters in the upwards range of 14-16 back from a season ago. A couple of new running backs, in fact. Willie Moore coming in from Grassfield and Isaiah Lovegren from Lansdowne. So if they get that running game going, that can help things a good deal because they can throw the football. Now it's a matter of can you block them, can you stop them, and can you slow the game down and shoot a clock, much like Deep Creek and Indian River did pretty successfully against them in the postseason.
Yeah, when I made the statement about somebody would have to be playing well and Green Run would have to be playing maybe their worst game, it's not to say that nobody is capable of beating strictly flat on their own. If Green Run plays their best game right now going into the season, and Salem, Cox, whoever plays their best game, I would go with Green Run. But again, that's playing your best game every week. That doesn't always happen, especially with teenage kids. So I like you, I think Salem is probably second best in that district. That has weapons to knock them off. A lot depends on how your schedule falls, who's right before, who's right after sometimes in a game, who has a bye. Sometimes a bye can help you if you're playing not really well and you got to fix a few things or you're banged up a little bit, even though you still practice. You know, that's another fallacy. People say, oh, we got next week off, we can rest up. So, Coach, we're not going to practice all week. You're going to practice. It's just you don't have a game at the end of the week. That's all that means. And I would imagine football coaches, when they have a week off, that's 10 days, you might as well say, they probably do lighten up a little bit on the hitting, especially in the middle of the year. Now, if you have that first bye or second bye, that's a little tougher because to me, if I'm thinking football coach, I wouldn't want that bye early. I'd want it much later when I need to have a little bit of rest or tweak a few things that we're doing, maybe not doing well. But I said Green Run is going to be a heartbeat.
I want to unveil our district picks and player of the years in just a moment. I want to get your quick take on, you have some veteran coaches in this district. John White in his 12th season at the helm of Bayside. Longest tenured coach at his school is John Keppel in his 14th season at Tallwood. And of course, Robert Jackson is the dean of the coaches in the district with 151 career victories, 17 playoff wins. Also includes, he's now the head man at Lansdowne, but before that, he had a time at Bayside, had a time at Norcom, his alma mater, was an assistant during the championship era of Joe Langston in Portsmouth. And, of course, at Salem, where he won a region championship with Kevin Whaley and Lindell Gibson. But, Ed, a lot of young coaches. You got Philip Sims at Princess Anne, record-setting quarterback at Oscar Smith. You have Mark Hall, I just mentioned, from Salem. You have James Yeager, Ocean Lakes. You have Lamort Smith, First Colonial in his second year. Tyler Noe, Cox in his second year at the helm. A lot of young coaches in this district. Is that kind of that mix of a bunch of youngsters and a few veterans in the case of Jackson, Keppel, White, why you chalk up that the district had 31 games last year decided by 8 points or less, one possession games? Or do you just think it's pretty much even after the top there and it's become sort of the new Bay Rivers where these games are, buckle your seatbelt to the very end because these teams are so evenly matched and there's so much parity in the league? What do you chalk it up to?
I think there is good parity in the beach. Coaching has a lot to do with it. You talk about your veterans that have been there a while on how they do things. I just think sometimes veteran coaches have to be careful that we don't just do what we've always done. I think you have to assess yourself at the end of the year, preseason, what kind of a squad do we have, and the things that we've been running and doing, does it work for this squad? A lot of times we talk in coaching, you base what you run, whether it be basketball, football, whatever, basically those two sports, what you run based on your talent level. You have a lot of weapons, you can do a lot of different things. If you don't, you got to find what really works for your group, your kids. And in football, you really got to pay attention to both ends, not to basketball, you don't. Football, defense, offense. Basketball, you go right from defense to offense immediately, quickly. Football, there's a break. There's a switch teams. You're on offense, and here comes the defense. Then we switch again. Basketball is back and forth, back and forth. Young coaches coming in, I'm always enamored by young coaches to see what their background was, who were their influences, and then what schemes, especially in football, even though I coach the basketball sport, what schemes do they like to run? Because sometimes the younger coaches will stick to things that they've been successful. Either they did it when they played or the coach they were under, who was probably successful, because if he wasn't successful, I'm not sure you want to run his stuff, that you're going to kind of go in there with what you know. It's easier to teach. And then they kind of find out what they have. I think the beach does have abundance of some young, good talent on the coaching sideline. I'm partial to us veterans, us old heads, dinosaurs, whatever you want to call it, being around a while, especially when they're successful. You don't want, as a coach, want to be one of those ones known to hang on, that, you've gone from being pretty good and now your teams aren't doing well at all, that maybe it's time to let a youngster step in. But there are some really, really good coaching matchups in the beach.
All right, let's give our top four for the district and then the players of the year. Unless you want to go the players of the year first, then the district. And,
let's do teams first.
Okay. Last season, by the way, it was Green Run at the top. Cox was second at 8-2 in the district. Tie for third with Salem and Tallwood, and then it was a tie for fifth, three-way tie for fifth with Kempsville, Lansdowne, Bayside, while Ocean Lakes and Kellam were at 4 and 6 after that. FC and PA at the bottom. All right, you go first. Give us your 1 through 4 choices. Let's hear them for the Beach District 2024.
Okay. I'm going Green Run. I think they have by far the best talent overall. They have that experience. Brandon Williams does a great job. I got them number 1 with the possibility of losing only 1 game. I do not see them losing 2. Salem, I think I go Salem number 2. I think they have enough talent to compete with Green Run, can be that team that can knock them off. But they better be careful, because at number 3, I have Cox. And I look at Cox at number 3. You said they finished number 2 last year. Wouldn't be surprised that they go all the way up to number 2.
Remember, they won last year, real quick. They won last year, not to cut you off, 5 games by 7 points or less, and they lost on a blocked field goal in the playoffs to Kempsville. So they had a bunch of, and many teams in the Beach had those, hold your pants, you're glued to your seat, if you will, edge of your seat type of games.
And see, I think Cox is good enough. They run their stuff well. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They're good enough to knock off a green run. I don't know, being an outsider, overall, if Cox has the talent that Salem has. I think you're very close. But now I say all that, and then right behind Cox, I'm going with Tallwood under the veteran coach. That number 4 spot in most of these districts, it's a battle, because I look at this and I try to be intelligent on my picks, which most people will say he isn't. You got Tallwood right there, but then Kellum.
Yeah.
You've got, Lancetown up and coming. Bayside, John, man, I never, I hate picking against John in these games. John finds ways to come up with wins. I just think he lost a lot from last year for me to give him that outright number 4, even number 3 spot. But he's a dangerous team.
And Kempsville's made the playoffs and advanced each of the past 3 years.
Right. And there's another one I'm not even mentioning, Kempsville. So the battle in the Beach, I don't know if there's much difference between 2 through 5.
No, it's not. Listen, it's going to be a revolving door. So your 1 through 4 is Green Run 1, Salem 2, Cox 3, Tallwood 4. Mine is Green Run at the top, Salem 2. I'm going to go with Cox 3 as well. I thought long and hard about Tallwood and Kempsville for 4, but I'm going to go with Ocean Lakes. We had Devin McGill and Noah Colon on our podcast a while back, as well as Coach James Yeager. I know they lost a key guy in Zeke Chinwiki over to Green Run on the defensive side of the ball now, but I think they're going to finish 4th, right behind Cox. And it's going to be a revolving door. I think 3 and 4 are going to change all throughout the year. And by the way, opening the season, a couple of key games, Cox visiting Lancetown, and you have Kempsville hosting Salem to open up things this Thursday in the Beach. All right, Edward, your offensive and defensive players here. Give us the offensive one first, and then I'll take offense and take defense, and then you take defense, and we'll take a break. What do you got?
Offense, I'm going with Kason Farrar, the quarterback for Green Run.
Not a bad pick. UConn commit who had a bunch of yards and a ton of touchdowns a season ago. He's an athletic kid, mobile, helped their basketball team win a region championship as well. You're going to go with him? Go ahead.
Yeah, I looked hard at his partner out at receiver, Anderson. And also, I got to give a lineman some love, Jalen Gilchrist, the big lineman from Salem. Though I don't think linemen get a whole lot of notoriety for Player of the Year. But, boy, they get a lot of notoriety in the game if they don't do their job.
Yeah.
But his Gilchrist kid, I think he's big time.
I want to go Jaden Anderson so bad, Ed, because I think he's the most electric player in the district. However, it's a quarterback award more times than not. I said that, and I might not take another quarterback for the other districts. But even though Anderson last year had 48 grabs for 1,282 and 15 touchdowns, I'm going with the Scooter. I love that nickname. Jason Scooter Williams. He's going to Navy. If he stays healthy, which is a big key and an if for Salem, he's thrown for 5,600. I should say he's compiled over 5,600 yards and 56 touchdowns in his career. I like him to direct the offense for Salem and get the job done. So give me Scooter for the offensive side of the ball. Defensive side of the ball, oh, I tell you what, this is tricky. I really want to go with Zion Copeland for Kellum, defensive lineman. I really want to go with Fabian Wells, Scooter's teammate, and Howard commit for Salem. But I'm going to – and by the way, a couple other sneaky quarterbacks on offense. Watch out for Jacob Rojas of Tallwood. Watch out for Noah Colon of Ocean Lakes. Really shifty athletes there. In Colon's case, even Zach Ruello from Lansdowne's an underrated quarterback in a lot of respects. I'm going to go with, for defensive player of the year, I'm going to go with someone from the Green Run Stallions. And I tell you what, I think those edge guys are going to play a big factor. And I really see both Zeke Chinwiki and Manny Taylor having a big year for the Stallions on defense. So give it to me with Manny Taylor. I watched him in a scrimmage. He had a couple of big booming hits. He's going to Pittsburgh. Give me Emmanuel Taylor, former Sun Devil, by the way, as my defensive player of the year. I've got a feeling you're going to go with another Stallion here for your defensive player of the year. Am I right?
Yes. Defensive player of the year, I've looked at people like Zion Copeland, the defensive lineman from Kellum, but it came down to picking between the youngster, what was his name again?
Knowledge Harold. Knowledge is power.
Lakes.
Oh, you're going Zeke Chinwiki. Okay. Chinwiki come from Ocean Lakes. Okay. I thought you were going with Knowledge Harold for a second there, the Virginia Tech commit.
But that's my pick.
Knowledge is power, baby. Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. Knowledge Harold, defensive back from Green Run.
All right, not a bad pick. So those are the picks for the Beach District here on our 2024 preview show. We're going to take a time out. More coming your way with yours truly, Matt Hatfield, and the coach, Ed Young, a special edition of 757 Sports Talk. Watch us every Saturday. Interact with us every Saturday, too. But we're going to take a time out and hear from the sponsors and come back with more, including after we hear from the Drip Bar and One Life, our Eastern District picks. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss it.
Treat yourself to a visit to the Drip Bar, IV hydration and vitamin therapy in Virginia Beach. Boost your immunity, increase your energy, and promote anti-aging with our personalized treatments designed to ensure efficient nutrition absorption to rejuvenate your mind and body. Come see our chic and relaxing day spa for yourself today. We welcome walk-ins and appointments. Our medical professionals will help you achieve your best health and answer all your questions. The Drip Bar at Lansdowne Commons in Virginia Beach.
Running high school and college sports tradition. It's time to give them the spotlight they deserve. This is 757 Sports Talk. Here are Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
Back here on our 2024 high school football VHSL style preview show. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel on CoVA Sports TV, wherever you may be tuning in. We thank you for doing so. Here at it's the Eastern District. It's a place you once coached in a long time ago in basketball when you were with the Norview Pilots. Well, Norview not at the top of the district right now. They're hoping to get there one day. There's 8 schools, 5 from the city of Norfolk, 3 from the city of Portsmouth, and as we mentioned earlier in our show, state champions, the Maury Commodores. What a job Dyrri McCain has done. They've been in the state championship on 4 separate occasions, lost a heartbreaker to Stonebridge one year on the last play of the game, in fact. Lost to Highland Springs, a couple of key guys injured, and Peyton Jones, who's now at Duke, and Kendall Daniels, who's coming back this year for them. We'll talk about him in a little bit because he's going to be a player of the year candidate for them. Won state championships in 2019 over Stonebridge and last year over the Bulldogs in 2023. And they had a big benefit game here recently with the Phoebus Phantoms. Would you like to hear what Dyrri McCain told us after that benefit game?
Always like to hear what Coach got to say.
So here it is, Dyrri McCain, Maury Commodores going for a 3rd state title. Since 2019, we caught up with him, and here's his thoughts on the team as they get ready for the big opener against the Wise Pumas. Will Ed be there? We have to wait and see. But here's Coach McCain for right now on 757 Sports Talk.
All right, I'm here with Maury head football coach Dyrri McCain of the defending Class 5 state champion Commodores after their matchup with the reigning Class 3 state champion Phoebus Phantoms here in their benefit game at Powhatan Field in Norfolk. Coach, just the idea you and Coach Blunt getting together 2 years in a row now to have 2 of the 757's finest square off as you prepare for both of you guys a rugged schedule and tough openers to begin this 2024 season.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Coach Blunt and his staff and just his program. Like you said, 2 of the best. Mad respect for him and his program and what he's done and what he will continue to do. The team we play today, I feel like that they'll be contenders in 4 for sure from what we saw. So shout out to them. We appreciate them for coming by. But great competition. I was pleased with what I saw today from our team. Got to clean up some things. I think that, basic. We got to make sure that we clean up some things. But overall, we just have to make sure that we get better in these next few weeks of practice. We have a bye week next week, so we'll spend time cleaning up some things and be ready for Wise in the opener.
and we'll get to why is the Pumas coming up here in a moment. But I know it's just a scrimmage. However, first play of the scrimmage, Torrey Newkirk, reigning state player of the year in Class 5, throws an 80-yard bomb to the Indiana commit LeBron Bond. I know you were thrilled with that, but to me, equally impressive. I know it's on TV. Right, they come right back at you, and I think it was your corner. Was it Matt Williams? Covering the receiver, breaks up a pass that could have easily been a big gainer. How cool was that for you to see? All right, offense makes a big splash play, but the defense is ready to strap up and try to match it.
No, it was exciting, man. Seeing that I'm on the sideline, I'm looking, I'm still talking to Torrey and LeBron about what we saw, and in the midst of that, it happened right in front of me with Matt breaking that pass. And I think the safety Hunter Collins was over the top too. It was just. It seemed like a match type of situation, and Matt was just ready to play the ball. And again, Matt's going in his sophomore year, and we're expecting a lot of things from him. Mm-hmm. So he made a great play on the ball, man. Great play.
It feels like you guys continue to don't rebuild or reload. You lose a stud linebacker who was player of the year in Fred Johnson of South Carolina. Your linebacking core with a newcomer committed to Maryland, and Carlton Smith stood up tonight. Ike Simmons there. And then your defensive backfield. We wonder about how do you replace a Devontae Floyd for your starter who's now at Duke. Big play from Williams. Did you feel like the guys stepping into those bigger roles or magnified roles, they're checking the box, but they still have work to do, but they're progressing the way you want them to?
Yeah, that's what I see. Especially like you said, replacing Fred Johnson, that's hard to do. Mm-hmm. But CJ is way more than built for that. He's done a good job being here. He's his ability speaks. Obviously he can run, he can hit, he can tackle, all that, but his leadership skills are phenomenal. So he'll step into that role just fine. Losing Devontae Floyd and Levante Bond, two 4-year starters. We got, Trayvon Cannon that's going away in Maury, who does well on his side. And then
his nickname Speedy for a reason. So.
Yeah, his nickname is Speedy. So he did well. I think he had an interception today at some point. Like you said, Matt had a good job in his pass breakup. We got to see a lot of things from a lot of guys in different spots to see if they can grow in those spots. But for the most part, guys filling in those roles, I'm pleased with what they're doing.
A couple more for you, let you run. I know you don't pay attention to social media chatter or message board talk, even on our site. People are like, oh, Maury went scrimmage Salem and Albemarle out west. What did you see different? What did you gain from that scrimmage from that one to tonight? What did you gain from those two as you get ready for the Pumas coming up? Because that's a team that tough battle up there coming to your place now to start the season off. And I know seeing different styles and philosophies is something you're trying to do as you continue to grow and build, right?
No, that's exactly what we ended up getting. They gave us some good looks and some great work, some different looks that we weren't used to up there at Albemarle. What I did see is, I was pleased with us in that first scrimmage, jamboree-ish type of style scrimmage. I was pleased with what I saw. We obviously got better, saw the film, see things that we need to get better at. And I think we capitalized a lot more today, but still some things that we need to work at. But hey, that's the joy of coaching, and that's the joy of also having a good team too. Is the guys understanding that we need to get better at some things. It's not just it's not coming from coach. Like the guys are speaking and saying stuff that we need to get better at in the huddle. So that's always a plus. That's always a positive. But from Salem and Albemarle and Phoebus now, who will make a run in Class 4, so will Salem in Class 4. So I'm pleased with what I saw, but we got to make sure that we keep our foot on the pedal.
Sure. Lastly, at this point, what's to be found out about this group? What are you learning here as you get ready for this first game? It certainly there's going to be some spots where you're looking at position battles, whether it be on the offensive line, running back, you name it. What do you do now as you go back to the drawing board and get ready for that first matchup?
Just clean up one of the things that I feel like is that we're kind of at the stage in the program is, understanding what it takes and understanding how to win and understanding how to prepare. So, that part isn't going to be the teaching part because we already know how to do that. It's to making sure that those small and little things that we got to keep hounding and keep pounding. But the plus thing about it is that my captains, and really not even just the captains, the team of these guys know how to win. Mm-hmm. So they know what's not going to get it done and what is at this point. So the fact that we have a common ground connection between the coaches, the captains, and everybody else and the players, we all understand that. And that's what I feel like I'm taking away from this team right now is the understanding of what we need to grow at and what we need to do better. And nobody's in their own way of feeling and getting their own feelings out the picture and know that it's about the team. So that's what I took away. And that's a great feeling, knowing that we made mistakes, but knowing that everybody knows that we need to get better.
Well, thank you so much. We'll see you in September on the quest to jam you in December. All the best.
No question.
Dyrri McCain, head football coach of the defending Class 5 state champion Maury Commodores. Ed, mighty dominant last year, winning by running clock margins just about every time out, it felt like. And they will be a prohibitive favorite again to win the Class 5 championship. Your reaction to what he had to say, as he's got a bunch of key guys, but this young fellow's done an incredible job. Coming over from Norview, was an assistant with Delton Cotton, as you recall, and has taken Maury to another level. And they've had some NFL guys in the past. You think of Cam Chancellor, you think of Vincent Painter, you think of Leroy Reynolds. But this Maury program's on a different level right now.
He is. And I think, his feeling of feeling really good after the scrimmages, knowing that his kids are saying, we got to get better too. He's got a lot of talent. And probably he's one of those few coaches that you got to worry about keeping kids happy, because some of your backups would be not only starters on other teams, but probably some stars on other teams. And right now they're servicing for a certain role to help Maury get into the state title race and win it all, which I think they will be there and will win it. So he has to try to keep those kids hungry, moving. The good thing about football is you've got, in essence, 22 positions, offense, defense, and special teams. So you could play a lot of different people, as opposed to basketball. You only have 5 on a court at one time. So you could play a lot of people. So he could probably find time for kids in that vein to get them on there. But they're very talented. They're going to push each other, I would imagine, in practice. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, their seconds are as good as most people's first. And listen, Maury's closest Eastern District game last year, was a 74-19 win over Lake Taylor by 55. Now, Lake Taylor under Hank Sawyer, by the way, Dyrri McCain, Hank Sawyer, I don't know where they're going to be in your top 5 coaches, but I know they're both going to be up there. Hank's got 3 rings, Dyrri's got 2. We'll find out at the end of our show, or towards the end of our show. Nonetheless, Hank's been in the championship conversation. Might not happen this year. He did graduate Elijah Moss, Washington, the 2-sport athlete who I know was the Pilots Tidewater Athlete of the Year. He's now at Syracuse playing his college football. A little bit of a younger squad for Hank, but you never count them out. We've learned over the years, don't count him out. He's got Pocosin start the season off, and they're going to play an aggressive brand of football. They'll be disciplined. 2 things, one on the Maury angle, one on the rest of the district. The Maury angle, you don't want to get complacent, and they can't look past their first 3 games, because last year those were the 3 toughest games. Wise out of Maryland, who comes to their place, a defending state champion. Oh, by the way, that's as big a game as there is in early September. I know people are clamoring for the Highland Springs Phoebus game, which we'll talk about, but that's a monster game at Powhatan. You have a trip to Highland Springs, who 2 years ago beat the Commodores in the state finals. Last year, Maury won the state championship. Highland Springs lost to Freedom. So both teams are used to playing championship level. It's going to be in Richmond, raucous atmosphere. Last year, Maury had to come from behind, Ed, to beat Dinwiddie on the road. This time they get Dinwiddie at home, and Dinwiddie won a state championship 2 years ago. They got a guy going to Southern Cal and Harry Dalton at quarterback. He was on last year's preview show with us. So for Maury, my question is a little bit like the Green Run question. 33 games in a row they won in the district. Not that long of a win streak for Maury in the district, but will Maury be 3-0 when they open up district play against Lake Taylor? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
I think they're going to win, though. It's a tough schedule.
See, I'm the negative guy, and I love Maury's team. I think they're the best in the state, any classification, and I think they win the state title again. But I've said all summer, I'm not entirely convinced they're 3-0. So I'm the opposite guy this time.
You're the negative Nanny on this one. I think it's 3 tough games.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any blowout. I don't think Maury
at home helps. Two of them being at home helps. Only the one on the road is a sandwich game in between Highland Springs.
Right. That's going to be tough. Of the 3, if they're going to lose, I'm going to pick Highland Springs.
Okay.
And I don't think they'll lose in the district.
Okay.
I do not. When you're telling me,
listen, gosh, no, I would be shocked out of my mind if they lost in the district.
Yeah,
If Hank Sawyer had some of the pieces he had in years past, I would say it has an opportunity to occur. But right now, I just not quite at that level.
They're just too strong. I mean, they're legitimately too deep at every position, and maybe 3 in some.
Sure.
So that's just hard to overcome.
Yeah.
Their own worst enemy would be themselves in terms of attitude. Again, the one thing you really don't talk about, because you really don't know, and you hope don't happen. You don't know about injuries.
No.
But again, their depth will be able to cover up an injury more so than the other teams in that thing. Maury is a definitely team built deep into the playoff type team.
Yeah.
You know, talk about some teams that are kind of built for having a great regular season, and we're not sure what will happen in the playoffs. Sometimes we think teams are built to get into the playoffs. We don't know how deep. Maury is built to get to the state championship game.
Well, a team that's in their own backyard is trying to be that bully on the rise. The Granby Comets, what a job Kendall Jefferson did in his first year. They got about as many wins last year as they had the 4 or 5 years combined. And you were the negative guy last year when I said, Ed, they can start out 4-1, 5-0. Get on the Granby train with me. They roll my hats hits, and you said, hold your horses. Well, Granby got it going, that big win in thrilling fashion against Kickinton. They started out 3-0, then lost to Booker T, the setback 10-7 nonetheless. They beat Lake Taylor 41-2. They beat Norcom 13-12, a loss in the first round of the playoffs to your Warriors of Nansemond River. You weren't coaching it, but that was your school at the time. They got 4 transfers, including one from Maury, and the running back Damari Palmer started out at Green Run. They also got a couple of linemen that transferred in the likes of Matthew Sipe, Arnaud West, newcomer at receiver, and Jaden Gaines. They bring back Amon Cuffey, who was their wide receiver, defensive back, all-area player, who had 9 interceptions. They got back Dravion Tharrington, another good running back, plays some linebacker too, Shanique Wright. Granby, it's a little bit like Kempsville from the last couple of years. How do they handle expectations and being a team that's viewed as a contender? And are they the second pick? Or are you looking more at a Lake Taylor, traditional power, Norcom with a Virginia Tech committed wide receiver in Matthew Alton, plus a really good running back in Nakeem Jones, or the Churchland Truckers, who have the area's leading rusher coming back for Dontrell Leonard, that being Dontavius Booker, pretty sturdy offensive line, and a freshman QB to watch out for in Logan Wynn. What do you think? Unveil your 1 through 4 handicap, the Eastern District. And am I snubbing the other 3 that I didn't even mention there in that picture, being Norview, being Manor, being Booker T. Washington, Manor, and Booker T. with new first-year head coaches?
Well, let's just start with number 2 in the Eastern District. Do I need to say who's number 1? I'm going maybe more so my heart and my head, Lake Taylor number 2.
Ooh.
And I'm going to give it to Hank. I know. And this is not easy. Even as we're talking about all this, I'm switching teams up.
Yeah.
3 and 4. I flipped the coin and it landed on heads twice, and I said heads would be Churchland.
Because it was a double-headed coin. Go ahead. Harry Stone from Night Court, Harry Anderson.
I would go Churchland 3. The key, and I'm not going to be a negative towards Granby this year. A lot of talent coming in. Now the key for Granby is everybody playing their role. Everybody on the same page. They are good enough to finish second.
Yes.
They're not beating Maury.
Well, let's just handicap like this real quick out of the shoot here. The out-of-district schedule for Granby, I'm not trying to knock other teams, but they have Lakeland, they have Denby, they have Kickinton. It's much easier than what, say, a Lake Taylor has with a Poquoson, with the St. Christopher's. Much easier than, say, what a Churchland has with a Kings Fork and a Hopewell. So one could have a better overall record, one could have a better district record. So that's why I do think 2 through 4 or 5 even, because I think there's a drop-off after those other 3. I'm sorry, I'm going to be honest with you. Norview, Manor, Booker T, just not the level of 3. And then Maury's head and shoulders above the rest. You see other athletes coming up here in a second that are committed to the next level schools, like the Kendall Danielses, the Ari Watfords, the LeBron Bonds, the Carlton Smith, a couple of which will probably be our player of the year picks. But even Fat Man and Speedy, I love those nicknames for Leon Clark and Trevon Cannon, 2 guys that are going to William & Mary to play for Mike London. But so you're going Churchland 3, Lake Taylor 2. Who's your 4th pick, Granby or Norcom? Granby. So you're snubbing Anthony Hawkins' Greyhounds with Matthew Alton, with Nakeem Jones. All right, guys, let's heard it. Classic. Listen, I'm going to be the angry guy. I'm going to have the Sawyers get after me, and I'm probably going to see them this week if I go to that game. I think they'll be sneaky. I do. I'm going to go Granby 2. I'm going to go Churchland 3 and Norcom 4. I'm leaving Lake Taylor out of it all together. But
Lake Taylor.
But let me make it, as I say that, listen to this statement. You ready for this? Lake Taylor has the best chance, even better, I think, than Norcom, Churchland, or Granby to advance in the playoffs because they're in Region 3A. And Hank in the playoffs, if he's a low seed, he will bite you. He doesn't, I don't know if he's got Bam Bam anymore, but he's got dogs. He will bite you. You do not want to see him as a 5, 6, 7 seed. Look out. That's scary. Scary. So I'm not picking you in the top 4. Use it as bulletin board material motivation. I've had Lake Terra plenty of times. 1, 2, 3. He's produced so many greats over the years. But this is a year where I think in the playoffs, they could have a little Cinderella rider to maybe get to a region final, be playing on Thanksgiving weekend, which is usually on the calendar for Hank, like we talk about with Darnell Dozier in girls basketball at PA. All right, Ed, now this is the fun part. Players of the year. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to make a statement that makes the rest of the districts mad. You ready for this? I used to always think Eastern District was the worst of the big four, not counting the Bay Rivers. I think the Eastern District might have more marquee talent, and this even goes beyond just Maury, than just about any district. Yeah, it includes you, Beach, Southeastern Peninsula. I know that's a bold statement, but there are a lot of good players. This is a hard call. You want me to go first for offensive or defensive player of the year?
It is your. I went first for Beach. It is your turn for our next district. So
I would be silly not to pick Torrey Newkirk for Maury as player of the year. I know he hasn't made a commitment yet, like Bond and Clark and Daniels and Watford and other guys on his team, but he's the reigning state player of the year. If I don't pick him for Eastern District player of the year and he's the trigger man for this electric Maury offense, I'm a fool. So I'm going to pick him just so that you can't pick him and you have to pick somebody else. So take either Dontavius Booker, the running back at Churchland, take Matthew Outen of Norcom, take whoever you like, maybe a Granby player, or perhaps one of Newkirk's Maury teammates, which would not be a bad option either. So you can't have Newkirk. I got him. He's mine, not yours.
Well, you stole him from me.
Take that, young, in the words of Daryl. There you go.
Yeah, I was going to take him, but I'm ready for a capable backup. The wide receiver who will catch a lot of his passes and do something once he catches it. His first name is escaping me right now. Bond. Last name Bond.
LeBron Bond.
LeBron. Yeah, how could I not know LeBron? I wonder who he was named after.
Yeah, good question. Wasn't Daryl. Speaking of Daryl, we got to get this out there. One of our favorite clips, Daryl.
The thing about that video, what is that the hex he's putting on?
The hex.
That's the hex. Okay.
For time purposes, let's go through the defensive player of the year. I went first for offense, and you go first for defense. Are you taking a Commodore, or are you taking somebody else? Watford and Daniels, two mega recruits. Watford and Daniels, Clemson, and my goodness, jeez.
Yeah, and you got there's a third one in there too. That
Carlton Smith, linebacker. Is that who you're going with?
Right. C.J. Smith, who's pretty decent, but I'm going with Daniels, Kendall Daniels, half an inch over the big fella Watford from Maury. Man, that defense, they got studs everywhere. But I'm going to go Daniels, the defensive back. I think he's going to wreck a little bit more havoc. And Watford is tough because teams are going to have to put two people on Watford every play. You're going to have to put two players. I'll keep him out of that backfield, keep him out of disruption. I think Daniels will be involved in every single play. I just think he's that good. So he's my player of the year.
And because of what you just said, and it's easy to say Watford, how are you guys not taking Watford as player of the year? Because of what you just said, doubling, I'm taking C.J. Smith, Carlton Smith, as the linebacker.
Ooh,
to get this, because he's going to have a boatload of tackles in the run game, I think. So that's my logic. I'm going to go with Smith as the player of the year. Defense. There you have it. And that concludes our Eastern District preview. The top four picks. Coming up next, Edward, we have our Southeastern District top four picks as well. It's all coming your way right here on CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you can join our thousands and millions all around the world enjoying our program like Ed Young and like me. You don't want to miss it. We're going to come back after we hear a word from our sponsors. You heard from the Drip Bar and you heard from One Life Fitness. Now it's time to hear from Town Bank and CHKD. We'll be back with the SED in a moment.
As a banker at Town Bank, we believe that people bank with people, not with banks. You're looking for an actual personal relationship, and that's what you get at our bank. You get that person that gets to know you, gets to know your business, is there for you. I think that is what motivates us, what drives us. And the idea that we are trying to serve others and enrich lives, I think is very true.
At CHKD, sports medicine is more than just treating injuries. It's a whole team approach to caring for young athletes. With experienced physicians, surgeons, trainers, and rehab specialists here when kids and teens need them most. Our experts help young athletes prevent injuries too, with advanced training and conditioning programs that keep them in the game safely. CHKD Sports Medicine, where kids are more than patients and we're more than a hospital.
And now back to Matthew Hatfield and the evil basketball coach. Blast you, Ed Young!
And we're back here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Now it's 757 Sports Talk, a preview edition on this Monday here on CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, as Edit is our preview show for high school football. We've done the Beach, the Eastern District. I did leave something out for the Eastern District. I also want to shout out Maury linebacker Isaiah Ike Simmons. He could be a player to your candidate. He's really coming on strong. He's been an all-state performer the last 2 years. We've got the Peninsula and Bay Rivers on deck, but right now it's the district that you are most familiar with because you've coached in it more recently than any other district that you've been in, and I think you've been in 3 to 5 districts, and we're talking about the SED, the Southeastern District, where a season ago, Ed, there was one team that had an unbeaten regular season, and it was out in Suffolk, Peanut Land. Who was that?
That would be the Kings Fork Bulldogs. Great season. Got a boatload of talent. I think they're going to be right there again, although, well, let's first of all, let's see what the Coach Joffrion has to say first before we start talking about his squad and where they fit in this Southeastern District this year. So I know you spoke to him, and let's see what he had to say.
All right, I'm here with Kings Fork head football coach Anthony Joffrion after his team's preseason close scrimmage with the Highland Springs Springers. You're a Class 5 contender. They're a Class 6 contender. They won a state title a couple years ago in Class 5 and lost in the state championship in Class 6 last year against Freedom of Woodbridge, coach. But you have to be pleased to get some quality reps in, some good film for your guys before the heat index said enough's enough.
Yeah, it was a really good scrimmage. You know, Coach Johnson and Highland Springs, that program speaks for itself. And it was good to come out here and, get this work. They do a really good job at Highland Springs. They play physical. It was a physical scrimmage. It was very physical, a lot of pads flying around. And then Coach Johnson, they also did a great job of giving us the locker room, making sure we got snacks, everything like that. This is a great program, and, they're great people.
I think you have to like just the aggression your defensive front played with throughout. We've talked about in the summer, going back to your 7-on-7 event at Princess Anne, the ODU camp, the Lansdowne camp, about you've got some guys in the defensive backfield that can check up on guys, which continue to show today. But Joshua Pittman was a force. Key was a force. You had a bunch of guys riding the football, and I felt it did so with a big pop, if you will. Yes, sir. So, Joshua Pittman, he's doing a great job taking coaching, continue to develop his specific skill set. Shamael Holt, he's a big man, he's a big man. You don't miss him when you come out here, right? Yeah, when you see him, he's a big guy, man. But he's came in and just worked really hard, gotten into shape. Justin Irby, he's been in the program, has one Division I offer. So our defensive line is just, a very talented group. Then we got Brandon June, a 4-year starter. Ernest Jones, who came over from Kickinton. He's doing a phenomenal job at inside backer. We just have a lot of guys. Zachary Walton, a 3-year starter. We just have a lot of experience on, both sides of the ball. You have a lot of guys at the receiver, skill guy that can make plays. And I know Javon Ford didn't suit up today. We know what he can do. He's a workhorse, and the running game's still work in progress. I think for both sides today, as both defensive fronts made it very difficult. But one guy that popped, I thought, both sides was number 13 for you, Denosh Rogers. He's a guy that's a playmaker, and he's rising to the occasion when you call his number, right? Yes, sir. So Denosh Rogers, this will be his 3rd year starting. He's a program guy. He just does a great job of listening, taking coaching. He's had a really good offseason, worked his tail off, and I'm just excited what he's going to do this senior year. We had to go to running back. We had an injury. He goes in, breaks off like a 15-yard run, playing defense. He played every position today. He did a really good job. And last year, even after your second-string quarterback behind DeAndre Artis Boone threw a couple picks, he bounced back, showed short-term memory, made some good plays out there. So you moved the football a little bit, even though this was more of a defensive battle. And this is a type of team, this quality of competition, you got to feel like this is going to get you ready for what's ahead, SED, Southeastern District, and 5B? Yes, sir. Rich, his name is Richard. We call him Gabe, though. Okay. I think Gabe just needs to throw an interception, just to get, Don't tell him that. I told him, man, first play you go in, just throw the ball to the other team, go ahead, get it out the way. And, his dad was laughing. They were all laughing. But he's a great kid.
He's been in the program since 8th grade. He just has to keep battling, keep taking coaching. He's getting better every day. This scrimmage definitely got us prepared, for the tough Southeastern District. The physical play. They got big linemen who play physical, really well coached. They don't miss a lot of tackles. They fly around. It was a really good scrimmage. We get to see when we evaluate this film, who we have, who some guys we possibly got to move around. It was a really good scrimmage.
Bulldogs excited for 2024. Coach Anthony Joffrion, thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
So that was Anthony Joffrion with us after the scrimmage in early August for his Bulldogs of Kings Fork against the Highland Springs Springers. It is 757 Sports Talk on CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe, whether you're watching on VirginiaPreps.com, Facebook, IG, Twitter, anywhere, YouTube. We appreciate you, Apple, Spotify, too. Ed, as we look at this team and the district big picture, Kings Fork's got a lot of talented parts. You heard Ford didn't suit up, nor did JoJo Applewhite, linebacker for them. But nonetheless, so many good pieces for them. That district, last year, the teams made a big dent in the playoffs. You had not only Kings Fork advanced, lost to Warwick in the region semifinals, in the same region as the state champions in Maury. Oscar Smith, unlike in the last couple of years, a little young for Chris Scott. They got knocked out in the region semis 2 years ago by Western Branch, their Chesapeake SCD rival. Last year by Highland Springs. Certainly look to get back to being a Class 6 championship level team. Indian River had some district losses, got to a slow start, ended up getting to the region championship and beating Green Run, then lost to Maury in the state semis. And then you also can't forget about Nansemond River, which actually finished tied for second in the district with Indian River. Had Al Kendrick Overton at quarterback, dual threat guy for Alonzo Ricks Jr. They bring in Tyrell Grant from Norcom. Did graduate a monster playmaker for them in Daniel Izagu, who is now at James Madison, and I just did a Zagu butchering because it's not Daniel Izagu. I'm confusing him with the Izagu from Colonial 4 years ago. It was Manny Izagu, right? Manny Izagu. Excuse me. Sorry about that, Manny. Yeah. I'm getting my Izagus mixed up. How dare I? Anyhow, top of the SCD as you shake your head with me, which you do quite often. Is it a 2-team race, 3-team race, 4-team race? I'm not sure anybody goes unbeaten in this district. What says you?
No unbeatens.
No unbeatens. Okay.
And for the longest time, up to about 20 minutes ago, I had Oscar Smith number 1. I think I'm going to go.
Wait. Did Joffrion say something that swayed you in his direction, another direction? Are you swaying like the wind in the trees? What happened there 20 minutes ago?
As we were doing this, and I have a lot of scratch outs on my paper, tons of scratch outs.
Oh yeah, look at that. It's like your bracket on March Madness. It's your bracket.
It's like my test in school. My test paper.
Bracket. Okay.
I'm going to go, and this might be the first time ever I don't have Oscar Smith number 1. I even picked him last year number 1. And I remember you saying, no, it's not the Smith of old. They're very, very young. But I'm a strong believer in Chris Scott and what he gets people ready, kids ready. They are talented youngsters. I'm going to go, oh boy, like one slight win, Oscar Smith over Kings Fork. Kings Fork over Oscar Smith. But I wouldn't be surprised if Smith beats him during the year. So I'm going to go Kings Fork, Oscar Smith. Third place, I had it was a battle of the rivers.
No Deep Creek, no Western Branch, no Grassfield there.
No,
sorry, Great Bridge, Hickory, Lakeland. I think you all being 1-7, 1-8, 0-6 in district, you got to kind of earn your way there. So,
no, it's a rivers coming in next, and I really, really want to go with Nansemond. Know a lot of those kids. Love Zoe. I'm going to go again. Another slight edge. Indian River over Nansemond River.
Now, Indian River's got to replace the defensive player of the year in Region 5A, who's now at Norfolk State. We talked about him last year with Brandon Carr on the show after they beat Green Run. We're talking about Jordan Harris, who was one of my favorite players to watch the last couple of years. That's a big loss, but they added some transfers from Bayside, including the quarterback Cam Kirby and Trey Vascanyan on the back end, had a lot of interceptions. Johnny Shaw. We know our good buddy Antoine Schotter takes a lot of photos. His son's a good player at linebacker for him, Ed, and they have some freshmen that are intriguing, some skill guys. They'll run the ball. Ray Moore could be a sleeper for offensive player of the year. Indian River might have lost its best player and might, in a weird way, may have more talent than they did a year ago, which is an eyebrow raiser.
That's what I'm saying. That dynamics there. it's probably going to be by the third game of the year. It should kind of figure its way out.
Opens at Varina. Oscar Smith opening with Hermitage. So and King Sports openers with Churchland. So we talk about a Southeastern being the best of the 5 districts. I think we probably have said it the last couple of years. They could have a couple of those heavyweights start out 0-1 and people going, uh-oh, what's going on here? Even Nansman's game with Bethel's not a walkover per se necessarily.
No, I think Bethel will be one of the most improved teams in the area. And Nansman River's got some new fillers in there too, especially quarterback also.
Especially on the line, offensive and defensive line. They're looking for that guy. Maybe Douglas is that guy for them, for Coach Ricks, that can be that weapon that Zagu was. Yeah.
And I really think they've got some speed guys. Nansman River got some speed guys, receivers and so forth, that they can put some points on the board.
Tavon Douglas, Calvin Holloway, a couple of those guys. Josiah Johnson could be some skill guys. Melvin Brown still back at running back. Remember Nick Greer's Nigel Greer's older brother Nick played for the program. Nigel's going to be a player, so they got some guys there. So you're going Indian or Nansman 3? Come on.
I'm going to go Indian River over Nansman for 3. Nansman for 4.
Sorry, Andre Twine. I don't even have him there. Wow.
Yeah, and then you're looking at a Deep Creek, a Western Branch, a Grassfield, which we're pushing it. I'm pushing him back 5th, 6th, 7th. I don't know which way.
We spoke with Coach Twine a few weeks ago. Remember, they lost that opener to Kurtz with a lot of turnovers. I think they'll be ready to get redemption there. You certainly have to like their quarterback returning for them. I think that's a big, big deal. It's going to help them out a ton with Breon Cuffey back. And then Trayvon Litton, defensive end. He's a guy that might be a dark horse for defensive player of the year for them. Western Branch lost a lot. We heard Jack Lowe's conversation with Coach Rashad Cook last week on our 757 Saturday Sports Talk program, Ed. But I tell you what, Kynick Baines is going to run the ball, and I think they will surprise some people. In Grassfield, can't sleep on them. We got a good young quarterback for Coach Joe Jones and Landon Curls to watch out for. Roderick Sloan on the outside is a playmaker, X-factor type that's probably unheralded to some around the SED. So you go Kings Fork, Oscar Smith, Indian River, Nansman River. I agree that might not be an unbeaten in the district. And I have in my top 10s both Oscar Smith and Kings Fork in the state on Virginia Preps in the top 5. Smith in Class 6, Kings Fork in Class 5. Indian River, I got 9th in the Class 5 top 10. I think they're going to tie for first. I think they're both going to go 8-1. But just for the sakes of this conversation and being different from you, which you know I love doing, I'll go Oscar Smith 1. I'll go Kings Fork 2. 3, 4, I'll go Indian River. Nansman River slightly by Deep Creek. I think Deep Creek and them are 1A, 1B, so we're almost tied for 4th. So that's my top 4 picks. Now, you get to go first for Player of the Year, which I hate this because you know who I want to go with Offensive Player of the Year, and you're going to steal them from me. I think, and I've gone with 2 quarterbacks already so far in Scooter and Newkirk. And you know I want to go with a running back here, and I know you're going to steal him from me, from Peanut Land. And it is your first pick in the SED. So I know you're going with Javon Ford. I just know it. I know it. So go ahead and do it. Just make me mad.
Javon Ford, running back.
One of our Chicho's Pizza Player of the Week last week. Yeah, you like Javon Ford, don't you? You irritate me to no end.
But what's left on the board is tremendous talent, because I looked at Trey Jones,
Oscar Smith, Buffalo
Travis
commit.
Johnson, the receivers from Smith.
Yeah,
going to touch the ball a whole lot. Now, I didn't really look hard at the quarterbacks in this district.
Oh, you got listen. This should be a story for my friends in the newspapers and others out there that follow, even the TV stations. I'm giving y'all a bone. I'm throwing y'all a bone. What is it? Throw a ball. These go. Throw the dog a bone. I forgot the song. My head's all over the place right now. But this old man came rolling home or something. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Anyways,
save it for pool in the pool.
Okay, thank you. Quarterbacks. We're going to get to the Peninsula coming up. Some young quarterbacks on the come up. 10th graders. That's the storyline right there. But we mentioned the freshman Logan Wynn at Churchland. You got a 10th grader, Lonnie Andrews III. You saw him through the game, 1 touchdown pass to Travis Johnson of Oscar Smith. He's a mighty good one. DeAndre Artis Boone for Kings Forks, a youngster. He's mighty good at safety too, by the way. I tell you what. I'm going to go with Travis Johnson, a wide receiver from Oscar Smith. And here's why. I know Lonnie's the quarterback. Got mad love for Lonnie. But I told you in the summer, I think Travis is going to be one of the best receivers Smith's ever had, maybe the best. And that's high praise when they've had guys like Tim Smith and Todd Harrelson and Kerry Boykins and Melvin Vaughn, and the list goes on of record-setting receivers. Jalen Bradshaw that have come through Oscar Smith that have gone on to all these different schools, Virginia Tech, UVA, Old Dominion, you name the schools, Quinte Funderburk. I think Travis Johnson's got a flair for the big catch, and I'm going to go with him because I think he's going to catch so many touchdown passes on fades. He's going to have a huge year. So give me Travis Johnson for offense. So I get to go first for defense, right?
Yes.
Jordan Rayner from from Oscar Smith. Jordan Rayner from Oscar Smith is really good. Rayner could be the pick. Jamari DeLoach from Oscar Smith could be the pick. Voss Kenyon from Indian River could be the pick. Even Litton from Deep Creek could be the pick. I'm going to go with Joshua Pittman of Kings Fork as my choice. Give me Pittman and Travis Johnson. So that leaves you with Defensive Player of the Year. Who are you going with?
Pittman was in my considerations hard. Now that he's off the board, I'm going to go with Jamari DeLoach, defensive back, Oscar Smith.
Committed to Cincinnati, and he can blanket and cover, and he's got the ability to play corner or safety and he's got a lot of speed. So that's not a bad choice there. He could have a couple pick sixes and some game-changing plays and some big ball games for Chris Scott's Tigers. So there you have it, Edward. That concludes our Southeastern District preview. Anything else you want to throw out there as far as a breakout name, team, something you're watching there? Not a lot of turnover in terms of the coaches. It's sort of like the Beach District, a lot of the same names, coaching these schools here. Not a lot of turnover as far as significant roster changeover. I think the SED is going to have a lot of the bigger games that we highlight throughout the season coming up.
Yeah, and the thing that bothers me is, and I might have overlooked it, I like to give the linemen some love, especially the offensive line. I believe the hardest position to play. Who can we give? I didn't write it down. I'm going quickly here through my notes. For the SED offensive lineman, who's the
best offensive lineman in the SED? That's a great question. I'm going to tell you, it might be a new guy. You ready for this? I said I don't know a lot of roster number, but I'm going to give you a new guy. You could go with Justin Irby from Kings Fork. You could go with somebody from who you heard Coach Joffrion talk about, someone from Nansman or Deep Creek or Western Branch. Or how about Corey Sanderlin coming in from Maury to go with an all-region player in Carrington Gaynor at Indian River? Sanderlin was an all-state performer at Maury who thumped Indian River in the state semis, and now Sanderlin, who's going to be a junior, is at Indian River. How about that? Maybe he's your best blocker. Maybe he's your best blocker.
There you go. Maury helping somebody else already. How about that?
Well, and if I'm wrong, you tell me who the best offensive lineman is out there. Like, share, subscribe, comment to us, post to us, prove me otherwise. And we're going to take a timeout and come back with some more here on our 757 VA high school football preview show with 757 Sports Talk. We'll sprinkle in more than just 757 because stick around. Peninsula's coming your way. Bay Rivers 2. Ed's got his top 5 coaches in the 757 you don't want to miss, and he'll grade my top 10s in terms of, we're still doing a countdown this week on virginiapreps.com, so like, share, and subscribe, not just to our YouTube channel, but also sign up to virginiapreps.com because we appreciate it, me as the publisher and our hardworking staff team. But Ed will rate my number 1 choices as far as good move or bad move to win the state title. However, right now, at this particular juncture, we're going to take a timeout and hear from some sponsors like Pain and Gain, John's Tax Services, and Ed's hungry for some pizza. So he's going to stop in.
Always.
With our pals at Cheat Shows. We'll be back in just a bit.
Pain and Gain, your one-stop shop for all things field hockey. Located in Princess One Shopping Center, Virginia Beach, we carry everything you need on the turf, from black sticks, turf shoes, mouth guards, and much more. Try out your stick before you buy in our synthetic turf area. Pain and Gain. Embrace the pain, enjoy the game.
Well, it's everybody's favorite time of year again. Time to prepare to make your annual donation to that infernal revenue service. And if you're like me, you need help. Help to keep that donation as small as possible. So get off your W-2 and call John Maynard at John's Tax Service. 455-6763.
Hampton Roads has a long-running high school and college sports tradition. It's time to give them the spotlight they deserve. This is 757 Sports Talk. Here are Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
And Ed Young's wheelhouse, ladies and gents, that's his jam. It's our 757 VA high school football preview show with the coach. I am Matt. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for so much more, Edward, as it is Peninsula District time. The Peninsula has such a rich tradition and history. You think of the storied Hampton Crabbers teams that won championships. You think of Phoebus under the late, great Bill D. Mike Smith led the Crabbers to glory. Dennis Kozlowski led Bethel to glory with a guy named Allen Iverson who dazzled on the gridiron, not just the basketball floor. And right now, Phoebus is the team. 3 consecutive state titles. The first of 2 were at the Class 3 level. Last year, they went up to the Class 4 level and had a touchdown pass on the final play of the game. The young, then freshman quarterback, Maricus Banks, who came in for an injured starter and got the job done, threw it to Keontae Gray. They win it. They beat Salem. They stunned Salem on the very last play of the game. And remember, just a couple years ago, Nolan James was the starting quarterback, came in from Nansemond River. He got hurt. They didn't miss a beat, won the state championship, and the beat goes on. And we caught up with Coach Jeremy Blunt of the Phantoms recently after the scrimmage with the Maury Commodores. Would you like to hear what Coach Blunt had to tell us after the 2 state champs collided before Phoebus has a huge tussle on its hands to open up the season, and that tussle's against the Highland Springs Springers?
Let's do this.
Let's do this, he says.
Let's do this. It's a championship ball club that I think is going to get another one, so let's do this.
All right, here with Phoebus head football coach Jeremy Blunt of the reigning 3-time state champion Phantoms after their benefit game with the Maury Commodores, the reigning Class 5 state champs here at Powhatan Field in Norfolk. Coach, it's always pretty special when 2 of the 757's best can get together, put the egos aside, and get ready for the season coming up. Tell me about what it's been like for you and Coach McCain to do this the last couple of years and have the fans come out and really support 2 of the very best in the entire state.
I think it's great work, man. I mean, we both agree. You won't be able to simulate anything like this throughout the regular season. And if you do, then this prepares you for those moments. So we always enjoy it, man.
Mm-hmm. Outside of the first play, they hit you with a big 80-yard bomb. It felt like you guys settled down the rest of the first half, played some really good, throwback Phoebus defensive football, moved the ball a little bit. What's sort of your initial blush of the assessment? I know you'll watch the film. You and your staff will pick it apart, the goods, the bads, the ugly. What's kind of your takeaway from the night as you get ready for game 1 in Highland Springs?
Oh, that first play, it was just a mental breakdown. We were in a split K. It was an incorrect coverage on one side of the field. So, once we cleaned it up and we started doing the things that we needed to do, we got back to being who we are defensively.
You have a kid in Maricus Banks at quarterback who threw the game-winning touchdown pass as a freshman the final play of last year. It looked like his poise out there was noticeable throughout. What's kind of your feeling of him as he goes into 10th grade year? It's his job now as QB1.
Crazy enough, he's still young. So, we have to remind ourselves not to put too much up on him, but he's ready for it, man. I mean, the kid's prepared all off season. He's a big film guy. So he enjoys watching film and looking at the good and bad that he does, so we get a real good understanding of his strengths and weaknesses through communication alone.
Mm-hmm. This senior class has a chance to do something really special, go 4-peat. And I spoke with a couple of your guys during the offseason. We played it on our podcast and on Virginia Preps with Marcus Hobson, who's committed recently, Noah Jefferson, some other guys like Caleb Tiller, Davion Roberts. What's kind of your feeling of the upperclassmen leadership of this group and what we can expect from them in their final hurrah, if you will?
Well, these guys understand what it takes. They've been a part of the process for the past 3 years now going into their 4th year. It's time for them to step up. Just like every year, man, you have some new guys in new positions, so it's no change when it comes to the leadership as well. So, they're starting to familiarize themselves with their teammates and things that work well when communicating, things that don't work so well, and you're starting to see the bond grow.
For me, a couple more to let you run, and I imagine you and your coaches feel it the same way, that we know about some of the headline names. From Maury, they got some recruits committed next level. You do as well, the Hobsons, the Tilleries, the Brennan Thompsons, so on and so forth. But what's really cool is to see sometimes the breakout names emerge. Into the scrimmage tonight, Makai Hill finds the end zone. You were smiling from ear to ear. How cool is it? Could he be one of those breakout names? And maybe some other guys we could see this year make some names, make a name for themselves. Who's kind of in mind for you? Anybody?
Well, I'll tell you what, that was a fun thing about the second half, man. We were able to get our backups in both sides of the ball and just let those guys, whatever the case may be per the situation, just play and have fun, man. Mm-hmm. But learn show us what you've been learning this entire camp. So, you know, we do have some guys that we believe can come in and will be a formidable force, you know, pushing some of these starters, you know, and getting some roll time up in there. So we're excited to see, you know, opportunities. Guys like McCain came to him tonight, you know, and, you know, he stepped up and made a play, and that's what it's about.
Sure. Lastly, for you, last two for you, say, what do you think will be different about the 2024 FAMs compared to these last three championship groups? You hope that the finale is the same as you've had getting the ultimate prize there at Liberty University in Lynchburg. But what's kind of your early feel as we're in August of what's different about this team or unique about this particular team?
Well, the thing is, you got to see how we handle pressure. And, you know, it's a lot of different things that's on the line this year. And, you know, it's not something we're shying away from. You know, we're talking about it. You guys are talking about it. And the reason why we talk about it is because we know it's going to be so talked about outside of our bubble. So, you know, it's how we handle the pressure. And what makes these guys unique is they know the recipe is in place. You know, now it's not allowing complacency to set in, man. And it's something that we continue to harp. We sound like broken records almost, but it's important. It's important. Just stay the course. Focus on the team that's in front of you right now. Don't look too far ahead. That's going to be the real key. Just staying in the moment and not trying to be so quick to get back to that opportunity that awaits you potentially. You know, so we just got to finish it off.
And to close here, what's going to be said inside that bubble as you prepare for the first ever meeting between two of the state's best in the Highland Springs? You go on the road to Richmond to play them in game one. They're a heavyweight in Class 6. You're not begging out from competitions we see here. What's it going to take to beat them on the road in their place and start out the season 1-0?
Well, we got to look at what we did tonight, the things that worked well and the things that didn't work well. Number one, we got to clean that up, you know. So we get a good week off of rest, you know, we'll be able to fix some things and get focused on that week one matchup, man. But, you know, it's just one of those things, man. You want to play the best, you know, and that's why we work with Maury, you know, during these scrimmages. And that's why we don't shy away from, I'm not going to shy away from putting in that matchup. I want the best. So, you know, we just got to go out there and work, man. And that's what it's about. Guys understand there's a task in front of you. Let's just take care of it day by day.
And the Phantom's still one of the best as well. Coach Blunt, the Phantoms, the beat goes on. Thank you so much. All the best.
All right.
So you heard from Jeremy Blunt after his team's benefit game with Maury at Palatine Field in Norfolk. It's 757 Sports Talk, CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe. Ed will do our top 4 picks and Player of the Year selections in a moment. And Phoebus has a number of candidates like Noah Jefferson, who is committed to Delaware, like a Marcus Hobson, one of my favorite interviews in the entire area, by the way. One of those linemen. You love giving a lineman some love. He's an offensive, defensive lineman with a 4.2 GPA who's going to Howard, and he's an all-state kid. Like a Davion Roberts, who runs the football. Like a Najee Gay, who's committed to NC Central, plus the hard-hitting Bash brothers at linebacker, if you will. They're not related as brothers, but Caleb Tillery and Brendan Thompson. Phoebus, this streak now, you know, they haven't lost since the first of their 3 consecutive titles when Oscar Smith beat them into the year, and then they walloped them the next year when Jordan Bass led the way, who's now in the ACC at Pitt. They had a little bit of a close game, defensive grudge match with Warwick. Now, as most everybody probably knows by now, we documented it in the summertime, Messiah Delhomme, who's viewed as one of the most ballyhooed prospects in the entire area, could make a case for him being the number 1 football player in the entire area if fully healthy. Broke his leg in the summertime. Without Messiah Delhomme, can Warwick give Phoebus a go, or is Phoebus going to be head and shoulders, knees and toes better than everybody else? They did win that game head-to-head last year, 10-2 in a defensive slugfest.
Losing somebody as good as Delhomme is going to hurt Warwick. It's got to hurt them. But they do have a lot of talent around him where all they have to do is get a quarterback in there that doesn't make mistakes, doesn't fumble. I don't have fumbleitis. Not going to complete a lot of passes to the opponents. And I think they have that. So I think they'll be in there, but I do not think they're good enough to take Phoebus down. Okay. Even with if Delhomme was still in there quarterbacking right now, if he's going to play.
He's not quarterback. He's running back, not quarterback.
I mean, running back.
Yeah.
But
here's my thing. Is it a bigger loss for Warwick on the offensive end or the defensive end? Because he's being recruited for the next level defense, and he's obviously made a commitment to Maryland to play for the Terps. By the way, the Terps have invaded the 757, if you have not heard or seen, as they've gotten pledges from not just Carlton Smith, newcomer at linebacker from Maury, but Jalen Gilchrist, the offensive lineman from Salem, and Delhomme. Is it a bigger loss on offense or defense? I'm inclined to think it's offense because they're kind of scraping for some points. They have a good receiving core with Keon Batts, Julio Character, and Dakota Brodus. Nice blend of players there, but I'm just wondering how they're going to generate the offense, not so much against the rest of the PD, Ed, from work, but in the bigger games when they play someone of Phoebus' stature, when they play someone of a Maury or Kings Fork stature in the regional playoffs, should they get to that point, even in a first-round draw, possibly against a Granby or a Nansemond River, I would wonder if they got behind, could the offense, play the catch-up game. But I like what Corey Harrison's done at work. I mean, I think their defense now, you want to talk about best defenses in the area, Phoebus and Maury are going to have an argument. Even without Delhomme, that Warwick defense, they got hitters all over the place. Their defensive line with Christian Corbin, Dwayne Skipwith, Antoine Vasquez, and Marlon Stewart ranks up with the best. And then their linebackers with Xavier Carter, Isaiah Emery, Jalen Jordan, they are terrific in that front defensive 7-8 men. I think their defense is as good as it gets. So it's just, to me, a matter, can they manufacture enough offensively to keep Phoebus from beat them? And I don't think Warwick's beaten Phoebus since like 2001. Back when, was it Marcus Vick played for him? That's a long time ago. What were you doing back in 2001? Do we want to know? I know what I was doing.
I'm trying to think what I was doing 2001. That's a long time ago.
I was watching this team beat some team from New York in the Fall Classic. That's what I was doing.
Oh, that was that year. Okay.
Yeah, it was that year.
I thought that was a little bit earlier.
It was 9/11. Come on. Where are you head at? Come on.
I got Phoebus.
Number 1.
In the Peninsula District, number 1.
Okay. Number 2 is Warwick or somebody
Warwick.
else?
I'm going to stay Warwick number 2. Now here it starts getting interesting. I'm going to go Hampton 3.
Ooh.
Shaky 3. And I'm
3.
jumping Bethel.
Shaking Crab? The Shaking Crab?
Shaky Crabbers.
Maybe they can sponsor our show if they're out there listening and watching.
That's right, because we want to talk a lot about Hampton and we want to say a lot about crabbers. So we need a crab shop restaurant out there to sponsor us, to get us in there. Plus, we want to do a show from a crab seafood type place restaurant.
You're very crabby, so we wouldn't mind watching you eat some crabs and
I don't think I've ever eaten a crab. I'm not a seafood eater.
Wow.
I do not think I've ever eaten any crabs. I'm pretty sure I did.
So you're going to Hampton 3. Who's 4th?
Bethel 4. I'm giving Bethel 4. I'm going to jump them up with.
We had David Porter on the show. We had a couple of new coaches. Zachary James at Kickinton, Alonzo Coley at Woodside. I think Woodside will be improved. I'm not ready to put them in the top 4, but I think they will be improved.
Yeah, I do. I just don't think they're good enough to jump all the way up there.
Agree.
But you've got Hampton, Bethel, Menchville, maybe Heritage in that next part.
Hey, what Heritage? As you look at last year's standings, Ed, obviously Phoebus was unbeaten, 15-0, 9-0 in the district. Warwick was 11-2, 8-1 in the district. Hampton and Menchville tied for 3rd. And what a job Rodney Taylor's done at Menchville. The last 2 years, his starting quarterback goes to Green Run. Kevin White the 1 year to Green Run, Kassan Farrar the next year to Green Run, and they go 6-3, beat the Crabbers a season ago. I don't know that he has a go-to guy, but I like what he's done there. He's coached them up. Heritage had a great run in the playoffs. Remember, they knocked off Hopewell last year, stunner in Region 3A. I could see Bethel being that dark horse surprise, and I think Woodside getting a couple of those basketball athletes is going to help. But here's the big storyline to me in the PD, besides Phoebus and their chase for history in a 4P, which is the top storyline. The next storyline, sophomore triggermen. The PD's known for great quarterbacks. Tyrod Taylor, Michael Vick, Marcus Vick. Who can forget Ronald the Donald, Ronald Curry of Hampton High fame, Marcus Hagans. List goes on and on and on. Taj Boyd, don't leave him out. Phoebus, Clemson.
Aaron Brooks.
Just storied quarterbacks. Well, maybe if you talk to Tommy Riemann, the next Aaron Brooks could be his young 10th grader, Kevin Parker Jr., two-sport athlete. Oh, by the way, the Crabbers have Marcus Chapman. He's a flashy 10th grader. And what about Maricus Banks? Threw the game-winning touchdown pass on the final play of a state championship as a 9th grader. Oh, that's coming of age even before you got some hair on your chin. I need to get rid of this hair on my chin. What do you think? Maybe. So, quarterbacks. There are some really good triggermen. So, the question is your player of the year pick a QB? All right, I go first for player of the year pick on offense, right? Is it me? Do I go first? Me? More? Do I go first? Offense? Player of the year? Do I go first? You go first. Who's first? I go first, right? It's my turn. It's my turn, as Skip told Shannon. It's my turn.
I'm going to let you go because you're going to cry about it. I think it is your turn, though.
My turn. My turn. I'm going with Maricus Banks, the quarterback from Phoebus. I go back to my QB love here I think he's the player of the year. His poise, his legs, his athleticism. He can throw. I'm going with the quarterback from Phoebus as the DPOY on offense. Who are you going with, sir? Another Phantom, or are you going with somebody else from another team in the district? Maybe a Wascally Wakweta, a Hampton Quabba, somewhere else. What you got?
I'm going with, I just had his name. I'm going to make sure I didn't lose it somewhere.
You can lose anything, anywhere, anytime.
I'm going with the running back from Phoebus, Roberts. Is it Dyrri?
Davion Roberts, the Bull.
Davion Roberts.
He had good stats last year, right?
29 touchdowns, over 1,500 yards. I think he definitely improves both those numbers. I think he's 35, 36, 37 touchdowns, and I think we're looking at possibly 1,700 yards.
That's a lot of touchdowns. I'm not going to hit on him because he's a bull and he runs hard, but I don't think he'll get that many touchdowns because Phoebus is going to have too many blowouts. He's going to be out of the game by then. He ain't going to make
that's going to be the other issue.
But he had like 10 in the playoffs alone last year. He had a good run. Not a bad pick.
He'll get a ton in the playoffs.
So you go first for defensive player of the year, and I'm telling you right now, if you take my pick for defensive player of the year, I'm going to reach through this screen and beat the living daylights out of you.
I won't take him, but I'm going to take Noah Jefferson, defensive back, Phoebus.
He's going to Delaware. He's a rangy kid at DB. Well, and I like Marcus Hobson. Shout out Marcus Hobson. You're one of my favorite interviews and players to watch. Offensive line. He's the leader, I think, of that Phoebus team. However, I'm going with the linebacker, Emery. Isaiah Emery for the Warwick Raiders. Isaiah, hit me up if you watch this later. Is your name spelled Iziah without the capital Z and the apostrophe? I've seen it written like 3 different ways. I need to know how to spell it correctly. That stuff just drives me crazy. But tell you what, he on the field drives opponents crazy because he is one heck of a linebacker, Ed. And I think he's a big reason why Warwick's defense not only had 8 shutouts in a row a season ago, basically did not give up a touchdown on the offense with another team's offense until game 10 of the regular season against Phoebus. But I think he's going to be a big reason why Warwick will remain relevant as a regional playoff level team in 5B. 111 tackles, 24 for loss last year. So give me Mr. Emery as my defensive player of the year. And I did not give you my top 4 for the district, did I?
No, you did.
No, you ready for it?
Bring it.
Whether you are or not, I'm giving it to you. Phoebus 1, Warwick 2. I'm going to flip-flop your 3 and 4. I'm going to go Bethel 3, Hampton 4. And you did say earlier in this podcast, Bethel's one of the most improved teams in the area. So there you have it. There you have it. Game of the year, though, it's the last game of the year. It's not the Phoebus-Hampton game we always talk about. It's Phoebus and Warwick. It actually is Phoebus and Warwick end of the year. Yeah. Which, do you like that game being at the end of the schedule? As a schedule maker, you have to be appreciative of that, do you not?
Love to see games of the year at the end and everybody has done what they're supposed to have done. That's where I like to see them. I don't like them lead off games. I really don't get excited about middle of the year. I like it right at the end of the year. The big rival. Phoebus-Hampton is the big rival game, but the best game in terms of talent on the field now is Phoebus-Warwick.
Okay. Coming up next, we've got our Bay Rivers District preview, our top 4 selections. Where does Ed's favorite Blue Smoke fall in the top 4? Does he make the cut or not? You won't see Blue Smoke today. Maybe you'll see it later, and you can go back and watch our podcast with Doug Pereira. We also had on Ananias Boyd of Grafton. We've had a couple of the Bay Rivers coaches on. I'm sure we'll get more. We had Elliot Duty. We heard from him a couple weeks ago after their scrimmage with Ocean Lakes. He of the Pocosin Bull Islanders, and I'm sure we'll be chatting with Andy Lynn of Lafayette. We heard from Ed's former office mate when he was at Nansemond River. He's now the head coach of the Smithfield Packards, Tracy Parker. So that's all coming up. The BRD is headed your way in just a bit. But, Edward, we have to take another time out and pay some bills and come back here on CoVA Sports TV, where you can like, share, and subscribe to us and hear so much more. And you're going to hear now from the Drip Bar as well as Vault Athletics and Fitness. And when you go in there, tell them Ed Young and Matt Hatfield, not Hatfield. See, I can't get my own name right. I'm all over the place today. Ed shakes his head. The pool does that to me. I got some water in my ears. Tell them those guys sent you in. What's that?
Doesn't surprise me at all. If we just go with your new nickname that I gave you a couple of weeks ago, Fool in the Pool, it'll be easy.
Well, I could say your nickname is Ed, but we get to go to commercial break. I'm not going to say what it is. I'll get in trouble. They'll knock me off. They'll say, coming back with the BRD right here on CoVA Sports TV.
yourself to a visit to the Drip Bar IV Hydration and Vitamin Therapy in Virginia Beach. Boost your immunity, increase your energy, and promote anti-aging with our personalized treatments designed to ensure efficient nutrition absorption to rejuvenate your mind and body. Come see our chic and relaxing day spa for yourself today. We welcome walk-ins and appointments. Our medical professionals will help you achieve your best health and answer all your questions. The Drip Bar at Lansdowne Commons in Virginia Beach.
Welcome back to 757 Sports Talk. No, it's not in the pool. It's Hatfield and Young at the Plex, the Virginia Beach Sportsplex. Here are two guys that, even though they never shut up, they're always dropping pearls of wisdom. Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
And that's right, we're back here on our preview show. Thank you for tuning in on 757 Sports Talk, CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe. And Edward, it is now time for the Bay Rivers District as we give them some love, some much overdue love for the BRD, making them wait for last out of the 5 districts to go with the Peninsula, Southeastern, Eastern, and Beach. And if you missed any of that, it'll be up on our page here to go rewind and check out for those of you that might have missed some of that earlier. All right, Bay Rivers, last year, I don't know if you did the War Hill Walk or not. I think you were on Lafayette. War Hill ended up being 9-0 in the district, tops in the BRD with Jerome Rhodes, who we affectionately said has the Mr. T lookalike to him. We love Coach Rhodes out there. However, Andy Lynn's Rams, Ed, with War Hill being in the same region as Phoebus, 4A, Andy Lynn's team in 3A won the region, got all the way to the state finals. Did they? And with that, they fell to Liberty Christian. But, there's always a but, district is interesting because 7-1 for Lafayette, Poquoson and Grafton both were 6-3. Smithfield on the cusp at 5-3 in the district, 5-6 overall. Have made some noise, but graduated some key guys like Logan Kuntz, Cam Dixon, 4-5. And we can't forget about our buddy at Blue Smoke, Doug Pereira of York, 3-6 in the district. Bruton didn't win a district game, but they did win 5 overall, playing a smaller condensed schedule. Jamestown went through a rough year. Newt Kent trying to build and find its way. What's your assessment? Is it still the heavyweights being Lafayette, War Hill? War Hill graduated a ton of key guys. Lafayette, some new faces, but Andy Lynn's got a winning tradition over there. They've won a state championship before during the COVID year, in fact. What's your feeling on the BRD as we sit here right now?
I'm going back with Lafayette at the top. Not only will they go deep in the playoffs again, but I think they win the Bay Rivers. Don't think they'll be undefeated. I think number 2, War Hill, can get a chance to get them, and don't count out Poquoson, who's my number 3. After that, I went back and forth, and I settled on my old buddy, my old office partner, Tracy Parker at Smithfield. And I'm sorry, Doug Blue Smoke. I put you 5th. But don't be surprised Warwick knocks off a Smithfield, a Poquoson, a War Hill, and gives fits to Lafayette in their game. But I'm going Lafayette, War Hill, Poquoson, Smithfield, a slight nod over York.
Interesting. So let me make sure I got this right here. Lafayette, Poquoson.
No, War Hill.
War Hill. Okay, Lafayette, War Hill, 2.
Poquoson, 3.
You're going to go Poquoson at 3. Now, you've got me a little floored by this one. Okay. I mean, I'm not floored, but I thought you were going the other direction here.
Yeah,
okay, so
this is a shake-up. This is a shake-up. I did a little shake-up.
Well, you do a lot of shaking up. Here.
Yes, matter of fact, Friday night I saw the Pitbull T-Pain concert. Guess where I was Saturday night?
Not another concert.
Another concert, Funk Fest, Virginia Beach, out on the sand, late night, listening to some great funk music.
It's Funk Fest got to do with Bay Rivers football?
I don't know. I just thought of Tracy Parker. I thought of Funk Fest.
You're unbelievable. You know that? You really are unbelievable. I have no words for you. So Tracy's your 4th pick. Smithfield
comes in 4. Doug at York, number 5.
Okay, I can live with that.
Give Doug some bulletin board material.
For me, I'm going to go 1 Lafayette, 2 Poquoson. I have faith in Elliott Duty's Bull Islanders, despite losing Baker Green, who's now running track at Eastern Kentucky. Good line. Now, I understand they got a couple of injuries from the scrimmages here. We'll see how they heal those guys up, But they have some returnees that are very important. Eli Tyndall, who was on the baseball team, state champion there. You got, of course, Carter Jones on the line, who I have a lot of love for. I think he's going to be really good for them as a prospect and both sides of the line. Jason Kell and Ryan Burke. But I think Poquoson's a solid number 2 and should win Region 2A again, most likely, although King William will push them. I will go War Hill 3. I think they take a little bit of a step back, but they'll sneak around, and he's built a winning culture there. Jerome Rhodes coming over from Woodside, where he was an assistant, and now the head coach. And then the 4 slot, thought about grafting, coaching change. We'll see how they adapt to that. Thought about Tab. They lost a lot, but John Byron's a good coach as well. Even gave Smithfield a look with that good running back in Kenye Martin. We'll see if Ed takes him as the pick for the player of the year on the offensive side of the ball. And look, I even looked at it pretty hard with, Bruton's not going to be a top 14, but Anthony Henderson, wide receiver, remember that name, young kid out there. He's a really good player. He's going to catch a lot of passes, be among the BRD's top receivers. His dad, by the way, is the AD at Hampton University. Anthony Henderson can play. But I'm going to go with York. I think Doug Prairie returning about 8-9 guys on the defensive side of the ball. I think he's going to get them right, and they will slide to that number 4 slot in the BRD. Edward, sir, now this is the real interesting part here of our podcast. You get to select the offensive and defensive players of the year. Floor is yours, and give me your options and what you're thinking here. Go ahead.
Debate was hard on this one. A lot of more cross-outs, changes, erased marks. I looked at Braden Smalls, running back from Lafayette. Elijah Williams, the wide receiver from War Hill. Those teams are going to be up there, and it's going to be the fault of those guys for being that good. But I'm going to go out on a thin limb. Kenye Martin, Smithfield running back, nearly 1,400 yards last year, 9 touchdowns. I think he runs for at least 1,500 yards, and I think he doubles the touchdown total this year, close to 20, to get Smithfield. Now, I don't think Smithfield is quite good enough to knock off a Lafayette, War Hill, but Kenyon Martin, I think, is good enough to be considered Offensive Player of the Year, Bay Rivers District.
How about that? So you go with him for the Offensive Player of the Year, which leads me to take maybe either Smalls of Lafayette or Elijah Williams of War Hill. And, the thing with Lafayette and Andy Lynn is very meticulous in this. They have so many different guys touch the football. And I do think, we talked about young quarterbacks earlier with the Peninsula, that freshman over there at Churchland, even Lonnie Andrews at Oscar Smith. Keep an eye on the young quarterback for the I hope I'm not butchering the name here. Baum Hogg, 2027 quarterback for Lafayette, 6'2". He's going to be a good one. I know they run that wing T, and they got 4 of 6 men returning on the line. They're going to mix up the carries with Sebastian Nix and mix them up with Braden Smalls and Breon Stokes at fullback and J.L. Love, Nayron Henson McCutcheon. But watch out there. I'm going to go with Elijah Williams of War Hill. William and Mary commit. I like him. He's a playmaker. I think he's going to have some explosive plays. All 3 phases, offense, defense, special teams. Give him to me as my offensive player of the year. And defensively, I'm looking hard at Daniel Jackson and Breon Stokes of Lafayette. But, Ed, sometimes you have a really good defense like Lafayette does, and guys will cancel each other out. That's what generally happens in a lot of these cases and instances. So with that in mind, my feeling is I got to go with Carter Jones at Poquoson. He had about 5 or 6 tackles for loss at least in that scrimmage alone against Ocean Lake. So why wouldn't I go with him as my defensive player of the year in the Bay Rivers District? It makes all the sense in the world to me. Whether it did or not, I'm going to do it. So give him the defensive player of the year nod in the BRD, which means that Edward has to figure out. He has to figure out now what he will do for his Defensive Player of the Year as he's looking hard at his notes right now, folks. Look at this. He's studying it. He's trying to figure it out. What can he do? What can he do? Give me your reasoning and thinking because Jones is off the board. Not yours. He's mine. Can't have him. You got to keep up with the Joneses and the Hatfields, and you didn't get him.
Well, I was debating my pick, and I was seeing if I could convince myself with one of these other picks. And I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to go with the person we be mentioning. Though I looked hard at Elijah Williams, who we talked about as Offensive Player of the Year, but pretty good linebacker also. Xavier Ransom from nose tackle York, leader of that squad. I'm looking at Hinahar. He got some vote. But I'm going to go with Breon Stokes, the nose guard, the middle of that line at Lafayette. I think he's going to be a run stopper. He's another guy that, we say we don't like to give Player of the Year sometimes to defensive linemen, even offensive linemen, because they kind of, though they do great jobs, they can kind of get stymied real quick at the line. And somebody like Stokes is going to bring on two people to come after him to get him away from being inside there. Tough, strong kid. I'm going with Stokes, though. And another guy I really like, I don't know why I keep seeing this, Maximus Schill, the defensive lineman for War Hill. I'm going to keep.
You just love the name. You just love the name.
I love that name, Maximus. Yeah. Max. Come on, Max. I'm thinking of my great lineman with the Raiders.
Max Crosby. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking Shill's going to be the same style. So.
Oh, remind me, I got to show you on the show this coming Saturday, the Raiders, the young man that got, and I'm sure this is going to upset our boss man, Mr. Chuck. This young man got asked about the Raiders, and he had a really good assessment of them this season. We're going to do our NFL over-unders this coming Saturday on 757 Saturday Sports Talk. For folks that want to check that out, please do so. Hit that like button, that share button, that subscribe button. When you hit the subscribe button, you will get notifications when we do go live for our shows and all the podcasts we do and live games, whether it be football, lacrosse, field hockey, you name it, from the Plex and all over the globe right here on CoVA Sports TV. So to recap, Ed is going with Xavier Ransom of York, 4-year starter, one of 9 returning starters for Doug Pereira's Falcons. You say no? You're not going with Xavier Ransom? You're not?
Stokes.
Oh, you're going with Stokes. You didn't take Ransom. You're going Stokes. I misheard you. You're going Stokes. Oh.
I had Ransom yesterday. And then I had Stokes.
Why you send me this stuff and then you change it all over the place? You're all over the place.
I'm a man of many changes.
Yeah, you are.
I'm the mystery guy. When
so
you think
with
you
Stokes,
know the answer.
Your offensive player of the year is Martin from Smithfield. You didn't change that, did you?
Who?
You're going with Martin as your offensive player of the year from Smithfield.
Okay, yeah, well, that's offense, man. We're on defense now.
I know. I just said that. You're going Stokes defense, Martin offense. I'm going Williams, Warhill offense, Jones, Picosin defense. Your top 4, unless you change it, which you'll do in 5 seconds when you change your socks. By the way, I got to change my socks. I stepped in doggy mess, which is another story for another time. Not this podcast, which has me all disheveled. I'm going Lafayette, Picosin, Warhill, York. Eddie's going Lafayette, Warhill, Picosin, Smithfield, I think. Unbelievable. We've got one more segment of this monstrosity of a podcast, and I can go get
a lot of information we're giving out.
I've got to get in the pool. I need to get away from this pool.
I figured this would be a pool day. Yeah.
I got to get in the pool and cool off. And, sometimes you can get some good treats from some of our sponsors, and we have a bunch of them. And we're going to hear from one of them right now, VBU plus AstroTurf. And we'll be back with our final segment on this 2024 preview show on CoVA Sports TV with the coach, Ed Young. I'm Matt Hatfield.
Get ready for a season of thrills and excitement. Virginia Beach United invites you to experience the adrenaline of USL League 2 Pro Soccer. Tickets are only $10 for adults, $7 for kids, and children 5 and under are free. It's the perfect family outing filled with fun and entertainment. Secure your seats now for a season of unforgettable soccer moments with Virginia Beach United. Don't miss out.
After more than 50 years of innovation, AstroTurf still leads the way. The inventor of artificial turf does it all, right here in the USA. We engineer, test, manufacture, and install the world's most innovative fibers and turf technologies, with over 30,000 tracks and fields worldwide. AstroTurf. Powered by Sport Group.
What's so great about this place? It's an Ed Young free zone. Oh, yes. It's great. Tremendous. Doesn't get much better than this.
Hampton Roads has a long-running high school and college sports tradition. It's time to give them the spotlight they deserve. This is 757 Sports Talk. Here are Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
It's just so beautiful when I get in the water, isn't it? Just lovely. It doesn't get much better than that. Really do enjoy it.
And I will say I am extremely glad that is an Ed Young free zone. I do not want to be there.
Well, I know a place that you want to be is seeing some of these big-time football games, Edward. Maury, Phoebus, Highland Springs, state championship galore. I'm going to unveil to you and our loyal audience my number one preseason teams in the top 10s, because last year, if you want to know where my number one teams went, when it was all said and done, I had Freedom of Woodbridge in Class 6. They won the championship. Maury in Class 5. They won the championship. Phoebus in Class 4. They won the championship. All right, in Class 3, I had Magna Vista, lost the region final. Liberty Christian won it. They were my number 4 team. Radford won it. They were my number 3 team. I had Graham, number 1. They lost in the state semis. And in Class 1, I had Honaker, who lost in the state semis. And Galax won it, which was my number 16. But 3 out of 6 ain't bad. 50%. That's what Ed got. His grades were in school. But one of the teams that's going to contend, Ed, for the championship, you know they're out of Richmond, and they will get you, the Springers, Loren Johnson's crew. And they got 2 7-5-7 teams right off the bat after the Manchester game to open up this week.
I think it's a good pick for Highland Springs to be contending for that state championship. And again, like Maury, like Phoebe, like a few good, really good, strong teams. Tough opening schedule, non-district schedule. Now, hats off. If I would put one of my hats on back here, let me grab my Raider, my Yankee hat. You know, my hat's off to those guys that have those teams that are playing those strong non-district right off the bat. Because you can lose, and people say, "Oh my God, you're not as good as you were. Look, you lost to." If they lose, or worse, potential injury to key guy, because you're playing against a really, really good team, but you can't worry about injury situation. So, Highland Springs, yes, but if I'm not mistaken, is Hatfield a 6A?
They are. We'll get to that in a second. Highland Springs has got some guys committed to the next level. We'll see where Coach Loren Johnson's son goes, but Nelson Lane, the quarterback's headed to Army. The offensive lineman, Damari Lassiter's committed to Elon. Would you like to hear what Coach Johnson told us after the scrimmage with Kings Fork back in early August?
Yes, got to hear what Coach Johnson had to say.
Here it is right now with us on CoVA Sports TV.
Football season's almost here. We're here with the head football coach of the Highland Springs Springers, Loren Johnson. It's your favorite time of year, right, Coach? August and football. Good work today with Kings Fork, right?
Absolutely good work. They have a great defense, and then they played extremely well, right? And defensive battle all the way to the very, very end. So I'm excited about what we can do to get better, right? So we can go back and watch the film and move from there.
I just mentioned to Coach Joffrion, I'm not sure anybody's going to be able to say with confidence they can run for 100 yards in either one of your defensive fronts. That being said, I know you both as coaches, you'll evaluate the film. There's going to be more things that you're unhappy about than happy about. But what do you and your staff, you're doing this a long time, been a lot of region championships, state championships. What do you try to take from this as you are for your second scrimmage, game one? What's sort of the ends, the do's and don'ts for it, if you will?
I'm just looking for who wants to be competitive at this point in time. Like, it's very, very vanilla what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're not doing a whole bunch of stuff in terms of defense or scheme, but who just wants to compete? Who wants to run around and compete? The only thing I can kind of make it parallel to is what they do when two teams get together in the NFL. You know what I'm coming from? And then they scrimmage at the end of it and just kind of, do whatever they want to do and keep it very vanilla and simple. And that's all we wanted to do right now. Just find out who's going to get off the ball, who's going to run to the ball, who's going to play great coverage. You know what I'm saying? We do those type of things and move from there.
And nobody remembers an NFL preseason score or a high school preseason scrimmage when we get to December or playoff time. I was just telling Will Garlick, my colleague, I would pay admission, even though I don't have to pay admission, to see 45 play. That's your son, Peanut, Brennan Johnson. He is something else out there to watch, and he made a play late in the scrimmage coming from one end to the other to make a tackle. And it's got to be a joy for you, but also Savage. This is the last season, right, Coach? To go with Braylon up to the next level.
This is it. For Johnson Males being on the sideline,
that's right? Girls coming, right?
Yeah, my daughter, she runs track, and she'll be helping me. She'll be on the sideline with her dad at times, but it's bittersweet. You know what I mean? I'm going to be honest with you. It's something that I've talked about for a long period of time, something that I've enjoyed from the time they were 5 or 6. They've been on the sideline, and it's going to be hard. You know what I mean? Whenever it ends, at what point in time in the season to kind of walk off the field without them there anymore. It was a little bit easier of a transition when Braylon left because I had Brendan here, but now with Brendan being gone, it's going to be a little bit tough for me. It'll be hard, but I'll adjust. You know, just like any other football player, you make the adjustment at halftime, and then you keep moving. So we'll be all right.
I don't even have to ask him. I know Brendan was a heck of a player. You were in your day. Did you ever get 3-time defensive state player of the year? He's going for that, but I know he'll tell me I'd rather have the ring than defensive player of the year.
Yeah, he probably would, but I tell you what, if he plays like that on a regular basis, he helps us get to that point, right? So he's doing his part. And I'm excited about that. And it means a lot to me and his mom.
Last two for you. Let's chat about the new quarterback. Nelson Laney's committed recently to Army for you. New guy stepping in for Christian Martin, who's at Maryland. I thought he'd throw a really live football, and he's got some wiggle back there. Showed some good signs, I felt.
Yeah, we just had to, again, limit them. We don't want them defensive ends from Kingsford, them defensive linemen, them big out hogs, putting their paws on them early. So we limited him and what he can do and how he can move. But I'm excited to watch him play as well. I'm just as excited as everybody else, to be honest with you.
Lastly, what will dictate how good the 2024 Highland Springs Springers will be? I know you graduated a lot of seniors, but there's still that hunger and an expectation to get back to where you were last December and finish it.
I think you said it. Hunger, right? How hungry do you want to be to do it yourself, not live off somebody else's, results or, you know what I mean, of what they've done. We just want to make sure we're playing the best we can and not compare ourselves to anybody. I've heard many people say, comparison is the thief of joy, right? So we just want compare ourselves to what we have this year, not to what we did last year or anything else. And I think if we do those things, we can move ourselves in the right direction.
Should be a lot of fun for the Springers on their quest to JMU. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys always.
So that was Loren Johnson of Highland Springs, Ed, which will be one of the main factors yet again in the race to capture glory, if you will, in state football VHSL action come December. And again, a reminder, state championship games this year at James Madison University in Harrisonburg for Class 6 and Class 5, Class 4 and Class 3 remain in December at Liberty University in Lynchburg, and Class 2 and Class 1 will be out in Salem. You ready for my top teams? And again, the top 10 countdowns, you can see them on virginiapreps.com as we lead up to kickoff until Thursday and Friday. Are you ready for my number 1 teams in each of the 6 classes?
Let's do that.
Class 1, I'm going with the Essex Trojans, just over the Alta Vista Colonels and the Rye Cove Eagles. They lost last year in the state championship by a whisker to the Galax Maroon Tide. In Class 2, the number 1 team, the Graham G-Men, number 1 in the state in Class 2, over the defending champs in the Radford Bobcats, the Glenville Highlanders, and a slew of others, including Pocosin from the 757. Class 3, the defending champs until proven otherwise, it's Liberty Christian. You just saw in our ticker a little while ago, they got Gideon Davidson, the running back, committed to Clemson. Easton Ware, who's blocking for him, also committed to Clemson. Yeah, go with those guys. Pretty good move. Hard to go against them. Class 4, the Phoebus Phantoms. They remain number 1, trying to go for the 4-peat. We think they have a great chance to do it. Watch out for teams from Richmond like Huguenot, Dinwiddie, Varina, plus Salem out west, Tuscarora up north, others trying to get in that fray. Class 5, the Maury Commodores. Team to beat until proven otherwise. They are stacked with talent, as we've talked about on this previous show. And in Class 6, this might have been the hardest choice, Ed, because I really boiled it down to 2 teams. There's a lot of good teams, from Oscar Smith in the 757 to Madison up north, Lake Braddock, South County, even Thomas Dale, among others. Came down to me for 2 teams, Highland Springs and Hayfield. Loren Johnson's team is mighty, mighty good. A lot of roster turnover, but Hayfield, a lot of new faces for them. State player of the year, Jeffrey Overton, who is going to Virginia Tech. They also have, in addition to him, a quarterback who's mighty, mighty good in Isaiah French, Carlton Juju Preston, a wide receiver going to Clemson, a linebacker going to Akron and Devin Reeves, a defensive end going to Navy, Ian Hall, the Hayfield Hawks, not a real state football power. The basketball team's won a championship. They're the number one pick. Your reaction, and then your top 5 coaches in the 757.
Not knowing the state nowhere near as well as you do, I like your picks. I agree, Hayfield over Highland Springs, if that's how the brackets will put it. Maury Phoebus, which would be nice for our area. We get 2 out of the 757 for that situation. And then I think you had
Liberty Christian, Essex.
Liberty Christian. Yeah, I think Liberty Christian, obvious reasons. They're of the proverbial poor man version of Maury. That's what Liberty Christian. They got tons of athletes.
Well, they don't have that. Their numbers depth wise aren't like Maury, but their upper crust is mighty good. I will give you that with Ware and Davidson and those guys leading the way.
I like Essex at 1A. Now 2A, it's hard. You took
the G-men.
The G-men. That's one of your favorite teams, the G-men. I might disagree with that.
So you would take the field, whether it means Riverheads, whether it means who lost Caden Cash to UVA, Pocosin, Radford, Union Bears. I know you love the Union Bears out in Big Stone Gap. It's one of your favorites. You love those Union Bears.
They have great announcers out that way, really hidden gems as players. Yeah.
So you think
that's the only one
I will whiff in Class 2. Okay, we'll see if you're right.
Yeah, that's the one I'm going to say right now, preseason.
In our remaining time, because we're short on time here, I'm going to keep this under 2 hours. Give us your top 5 coaches, 757 style, from 5 to 1 or 1 to 5, however you want to display it to the audience. You've been thinking about this.
Well, let me preface this by saying, if this gets on anybody's minds in a negative way, oh well.
All right.
I'm not on anybody's list anywhere, and I'm okay with that. In fact, I'm not even coaching because
you're on some lists. You're on some lists now, but go ahead. We're short on time.
Not the good list. All right. Coming in at
list.
number 5 in the high school football coaches that Ed Young's list. I got Chris Scott.
Ooh, he's 5th. Wow.
Do I need to go over his resume?
No, you don't. Championships,
Good.
Ocean
Because
Lakes,
it's too long and it's too good.
Yep.
He's 5, but I'll say this about Chris.
Go ahead.
If guys are going to the next level, he's number 1.
Oh, okay. So who's 4?
College coach.
Who's 4?
Yeah. If I'm swooping down and taking a
Chris
high
Scott
school
is
coach out of the
5.
area,
So that means you've got to have probably someone out of the Eastern Peninsula Bay Rivers. Who's 4?
I'm going Andy Lynn, Lafayette.
Okay.
Solid, not flashy, no controversies, it's all on his team. It's all on his team. And sometimes I think he's underrated. As good as he is, he's underrated. So I'm going Andy Lynn, Lafayette, number 4. Number 3, Phoebus brings us Jeremy Blount.
Okay.
Again, and these guys, and like I said,
3-time state champion reigning is number 3 on your list. 1 and 2 better be doggone good.
Yeah, I think they are. I think they are. Number 2, I've got Maury's Dyrri McCain.
Yeah. All right.
McCain, who is probably I'm going to guess one of the younger guys on this list. So he's got more titles coming.
Yeah.
And
he might go to college one day too, by the way. He might go to college one day too.
Yeah, I think in terms of these guys, he'd be right behind Chris.
A touchdown pass in a playoff game to beat the Crabbers with Tyrod Taylor. That's how young he is. I've been covering him. And who's number 1?
And he would be one that I think would be our next best college head coach prospect.
Okay. And by the way, they just had a college coach in basketball, Brandon Plummer, go to Elizabeth City State, open up the Maury basketball. And then your number 1 pick. Go ahead.
I'm going with the vet. I like this guy from day one, and I still think he's top notch. Still think he's very good. I don't think he necessarily has some of the talent some other people do, but he does the most of what he has. That's Hank Sawyer, Lake Taylor.
That's Herman B. Sawyer to get it official. So to recap it, Ed's 1 through 5 coaches. He's got 1, Hank Sawyer of Lake Taylor, 2, Dyrri McCain of Maury, 3, Jeremy Blunt of Phoebus, 4, Andy Lynn of Lafayette, and 5, Chris Scott of Oscar Smith.
I've left out a ton.
You have, and that's out of 49 public school coaches. And I would love to pick apart your list like Mad Dog does to Stephen A. or vice versa, or all these lists that are out there. People do lists everywhere. I can't argue too much with that list. I mean, if I was to flip anybody, I'd be splitting hairs. So, I mean, I can't argue with that list. Everybody on that list has won a championship. Sawyer's got 3. His wife's got some titles too. McCain's got 2. Blunt's got 3. Lynn's got a championship. Chris has got 3. Like, they've all got championships. So I can't argue with that. It's a good list.
It's
6 through 10 would be the harder list.
Right. And these guys are all ones. They're all ones. I mean, come on. They're all ones in what they do. I'm just putting a little list together to create some stir out there and let people do the talking, because that's what people like to do.
Music blasting. That means we're out of time.
We're out of time.
This was fun, Ed. We got it in under 2 hours. All 5 districts: the Beach, the Bay Rivers, the Peninsula, the Southeastern, and the Eastern. And we're ready for some football. Go run that flea flicker, coaches and athletes out there. Do what Ed Young says. Go for it on 4th and 17.
4th, 1 yard to go. Flea flicker and around, or put the offensive tackle or guard in the backfield. Give them the ball. I'm telling you, coaches, it works. You've got to have faith to try it. You've got to have faith to try it and then give it a shot. You got 10 games plus playoffs. You got to run at least once or twice.
Blame this guy when it doesn't work. Not this pretty face. Blame that guy when it doesn't work. And that's going to do it for this edition of 757 Sports Talk, a season preview special. We thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time. Make sure you hit the like button, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your family's friends, and your friends' family, and your neighbors' friends and family. Tell everybody and interact with us, and we'll talk to you on Saturday on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on CoVA Sports TV. Take care, everyone.